Hello, my name is Teri Kellum, and I'd like to take a few minutes to introduce myself to you and share with you the 5 things I've learned through my years of teaching that make me an effective educator. I began my teaching career at an early age. My mother has a master's degree in elementary education and taught for more than 30 years. During my high school years, I attended a small private school and had the opportunity to work in my mother's classroom as a student aide for 3 years. The year I was a senior, I taught the kindergarten class under the supervision of my mother. I began working as a full-time tutor in 1991 and have continued in this position up to the present day. I have worked one-on-one with students at every level, from kindergarten through college. I believe the 5 things that make me an effective teacher include designing effective lessons that address a variety of learning styles, having positive expectations for my students, managing my classroom well, creating an inviting place for students to learn, and effectively communicating with my students and their families. I learned under my mother's direction how to design lesson plans and how to present those lessons in a variety of ways in order to reach children with different learning styles. My tutoring experience has refined my ability to design effective lessons based on specific objectives to help students master new concepts. I believe there are 2 things that make a lesson effective. First, the lesson needs to be presented in a way that engages the students in learning. I have learned how to pique students' curiosity and interest in what we'll be studying, and I also know how to draw them in to participate in the lesson. The second thing that makes a lesson effective is relating the concepts to students' lives. If they can see the benefit of learning new information and realize they will actually use it, they are more likely to want to learn. I truly believe that each student has the capacity to succeed, and it is my job as a teacher to guide that process. My students all know that I believe in them, I will encourage them in their efforts, and I am their partner on their journey toward success. Designing effective lessons and having positive expectations are both vitally important, but they must be supported by good classroom management. My students know they can count on consistency in my classroom. My procedures are clearly defined, and I have the students practice them often at the beginning of the year until each procedure becomes an automatic response. Similarly, my rules and consequences are easy to understand and remember, and I have them posted in the classroom for the students to refer to. We talk about the rules at the beginning of the year, and I make sure each student understands which behaviors are acceptable in the classroom and which ones are not. My students know that the rules, and consequences for disobeying the rules, are only there to ensure a positive environment in which everyone can learn. There are several things I do, in addition to having consistent procedures and rules, to make my classroom a positive, inviting place to learn. I greet each of my students by name at the door. Because I am organized, I can focus on my students from the moment they arrive, rather than having to worry about last-minute planning. I use specific positive phrases when I give my students encouragement, rather than generalities like "good job." Finally, I help my students verbalize their dreams and help guide them toward the fulfillment of those desires. The final thing that makes me an effective educator is my ability to communicate with my students and their parents. I send home a welcome letter during the first week of school, outlining the classroom procedures and rules, as well as stating my goals for the year. I let the parents know from the very beginning of the year that I consider myself their partner in working toward their child's success. Also during the first week of school, I let my students know our classroom is a safe place to ask questions. In fact, I welcome their questions. I believe communication needs to be a two-way street, not just me giving a lecture. I also maintain a class website with announcements, schedules, and links to interesting sites related to topics we are studying. I've found this to be a very effective way to communicate with my students and their parents as well. I offer my students prompt feedback on their homework and tests, and am available during specific lunchtime and after-school hours to provide extra help to any student who wants it. Finally, I maintain regular contact with my students' parents through emails, phone calls, and conferences. If their child has done something outstanding, I want to share that with the parents. Conversely, if there is a problem, I want to alert the parents quickly so we can find a solution together. I believe ongoing, effective communication with students and their parents is vitally important. My ultimate goal is to make learning an adventure for my students, one that doesn't end with the final school bell. Therefore, I want to invite each of my students to become lifelong learners. I want to preserve their natural curiosity and show them how to find the answers to any questions they have.